Hi, everybody. It's Stacy Sobel, and I am here with Frank Gambuzza to talk about data-driven. And he's going to be one of our main presenters on the first day. And you are going to be talking about pivot or plummet, 5 key adjustments. And we're kind of talking about how you're going to how you're managing differently and how you've seen the shift in business through the pandemic and how that's changed you as a leader. So tell us a little bit about that, Frank.
I'll be glad to, Stacey. Well, actually, if we were going to talk about how we're managing differently, it would be every single thing that we did prior to pandemic is different post-pandemic, but you can't do it all. So
and not just the cleanliness. We're not just talking cleanliness stuff. We're talking about how you manage.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's that you hear the phrase, "It's a new day. It's a new day." I've done that seminar for years, and it's complete. It's a new industry right now. The dynamics have definitely flipped upside down. And I certainly think there's room for market leader salons to make the adjustments that are necessary to go forward. But it's definitely different. And if we don't do things different, we're not going to have the same results for sure.
So share one of the things that you're going to talk about at Data-Driven. One of the ways that you've changed the way you lead.
Well, I just got off the phone with a very good friend in Fort Lauderdale. He's actually in Boca, has a great salon down there. And it seems like we have these morning conversations with market leading salons from around the country. Fortunately, because of my previous position within the coiffure, I've got to know a lot of really, really smart people in the business. And when we have these conversations in the morning, you would think that him in Boca, my friend Van in Atlanta, Scott in Seattle, Frank Westerbeek out in Tucson with Jana, we have the same exact conversation as if we were in the same city, in the same company. It's absolutely unbelievable how it could be that in tune or in sync as an industry, which is dramatically different of the conversations we used to have. But right now, if you want to ask me what is the number one change we're making, and I'm literally sharing with some of my friends the most important, we call it attracting. A lot of people use the word recruiting. It sounds too corporate to me, but we're attracting people to our salon company different than we did before. And I've been coined this week with the phrase that I said it was guerrilla warfare for new staff, and it literally is that. But that's the one area that we're putting probably the most focus on at the moment, because if we don't do that different, we're not going to have any staff.
Well, and I just posted a story yesterday that kind of syncs up with that. Of course, people want to see, a great salary, competitive salary and benefits. But the number one thing staff are looking right now from their jobs is great leadership. So that's really putting the spotlight on the owners to lead. Do a good job of that.
There's no doubt. They're looking, it's almost a double-edged sword. They're looking for leadership. But if you lead in a way that, I learned from a friend years ago. I was in Sydney, Australia doing a seminar, and this older, very successful gentleman took me out to dinner afterwards, and he liked what I had to say, but I liked what he had already done. I was trying to do it. So he was way ahead of me. So I think I interviewed him way more than he talked to me during that dinner. And he said, there's really 3 things you need to be successful in the hair industry. But more importantly, to get successful, he said, to stay successful. And I think that's really where it's at right now, is how do companies that we're in business 34 years, right? All the other people I mentioned earlier have been in business a long time. How do we stay relevant with all the newness that's going on? Right. It used to be before where you could rest on your laurels, or you had enough reputation, enough gas in the tank to kind of ride it out a little bit. That's not the case anymore. It's dramatically different, it's dramatically new. But he said you need 3 things, and I thought they were brilliant. He said, number 1, you need proper financing, which there's no doubt with today and inflation and economy, you better have a nest egg. Number 1. Number 2, you got to have a lot of experience, right? And typically those 2 things come with a brand that's been around a while. He said, but the one I think is most important in order for sustainability is really to have enthusiasm. And I think, to your point just now, there's a lot of enthusiasm in the young new hairdresser, and they kind of want to be led, but it's not like, hey, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. because you're experienced and you've done well, I want to be kind of like you. It's
Right.
they want to be led, but they want to be led dramatically different. The why has to be constantly in that leadership is why, and the constant affirmation of you're doing good, you're doing good, you're doing good. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's different of the way we did it when somebody said, just tell me what to do. I'll emulate one of your leaders, and I too want to be like that.
Well, and I think you're kind of talking about the difference between a leader and a boss. And sometimes people don't differentiate between the two, but a leader almost listens as much as they instruct. They're bringing those people into the conversation. They're listening to their opinions, and they're changing the way the company is based on how everybody, what the input of everyone, including clients.
Stace, that's a great point. And I think really the key is really not leader. I think it's leaders. I think it needs to be plural in salon companies today. We need to have much more inclusiveness. I'm sorry. They got to be inclusive into the way we have a lot of young staff that we're bouncing stuff off because they might not have exactly the how to and the mechanics of how to pull it off, but they certainly have to kind of the what piece. And I think really it's blending kind of the why and the what and getting where they need to go. But the communication, I mean, I'm probably in meetings more than I've ever been in my whole life. But if that's what it's going to take to stay sustainable and move forward, it just means the dynamics are changing, right?
Right.
And the strong will survive. You got to roll up your sleeves and know that it's going to be different. If we're waiting for it to be the way it was pre-pandemic, or even, I mean, it was on that trail anyway. So pandemic, obviously, just sped it up. But it's really going to be who's going to make the adjustments and pivot. Because if you don't pivot, you definitely will plummet. And that's kind of going to be the name of this presentation is Pivot or Plummet, because not only is it the recruiting piece, it's compensation, it's training, it's consumer expectations are dramatically different.
Right.
The value they're looking for. Clients don't mind spending money, but they want the value. So what are we doing different to add value? And we have a saying in our company, because it's a pretty large company. We got a lot of staff. So really, since post-pandemic, we're saying, the bigger we get, the bigger we got, the smaller we got to get.
Yeah.
So it's got to feel smaller, even though we're growing. I mean, business is fabulous. There's obviously challenges, but it's nothing we can't figure out.
Well, this is great. I cannot wait to hear your Pivot or Plummet presentation at Data-Driven, and you will be on our Data-Driven's in Nashville this year, which is your home state. So I'm sure you're excited about that. And we're excited to be there. We'll be there May 15th and 16th. And you can go to datadrivensalon.com to check out the rest of the schedule and to purchase tickets. But Frank, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your presentation. And we can't wait to hear what some of those other key changes are.
Thank you, Stacey. I look forward to it. And I welcome everyone to come to see us in Tennessee. And we'll certainly share what we're doing, both good and bad, and try to help everybody move a little bit forward as we go into 2022.
Take care until then. We can't wait.
Thank you. Bye.